Alright, so title update number 1 is here, and it actually has a lot of features. We have the new armor sets, we have a ton of new content, and some secret changes that we have to check out. And of course, taking a look at some of the new fights against Mizutsune and Zosia. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Now let's get started with the melding pot. Price increases, some of them are not that bad, others are a little bit higher. So going over the Wyverian melding, here are the old prices. For the ancient orb sword, it was 120 points, and for the armor it was 60 points. Well, that was increased by 30 points each, so now it's 150 points and 90 points respectively. However, what's interesting is that pretty much all the value points from the items you can trade in have been increased. And yes, this includes the gold melding tickets, which have been bumped from 1200 points now to 1500 points, which is actually pretty big. Pretty much everything else from 20 to 30 points, so that actually kind of compensates. However, what has seen the most significant change is pretty much the meld decorations. Previously, attack jewels 1 were 20 points and the level 2 ones were 80 points. Well, now that's going to be 90 and 450 respectively. So yeah, pretty much 4 to 5 times that amount that we used to have before in terms of the cost of getting these. I guess that Capcom kind of got sick of us just going for all of the decorations in the game so quickly. Luckily enough, for the melding of relics, it's pretty much the exact same prices, so nothing here has been changed from the looks of it. As far as some of the other nerfs go, I'm gonna post a longer video about all of these. In the meantime, I just want to talk about Corrupted Mantle, which yes, has seen a nerf, but mostly it seems to be related to the bonus attack and affinity you get from it. So previously, once you pop that in and also attacked a little bit, the full bonus you got from it was 20 raw attack and 30% affinity. Well, now that's going to be about 10% affinity and 10 raw attack. That's pretty much all I'm getting from it right here. This includes, by the way, after doing the full attack chain so that it stops the health drain. So this is with the full buff. A full-on video about that will follow soon, but it seems that the double attack on some of the weapon attacks is still in there. I'm not sure if it's the same value, but more on that in just a little bit. But with the nerfs out of the way, let's talk about some of the new content. And of course, you're going to absolutely love some of this and maybe be underwhelmed about some of the other, but I'm still going to cover it. There are 3 new quests that you're going to get, including one side mission over here. So let's get started with the first one you get in the Windward Plains. Right here, you can go ahead and talk to Alma at any point and help her find her glasses. This is then going to open up a brand new quest, which is called the Apple of Her Eye. So in this case, what you need to do is to head over to the Woodwood camp right here in the Scarlet Forest and talk to Thunk, who's going to be very close at the entrance. He's going to tell you about some of the other Woodwood NPCs by the river, trying to find some forgottenings, quote unquote. And when you head over here on this side of the map in area number 1, you're going to spot that it's actually very close to the main camp. So head to this location and you're going to spot all of these Woodwood NPCs. Go ahead and talk to them up until you find this one in the back that actually got the glasses. He's going to run away, so you're now going to have to make your way back to the Woodwood hideout. From this point on, Thunk is going to tell you to return back during a plentiful nighttime. So go ahead, rest at any of your camps, set it to plentiful at nighttime, and then head over back to Thunk and speak to him once again. And now he's going to tell you about that bonfire cooking that's at the same hideout but just a bit above. So make your way over there using some of these vines. Now this is not new, this cooking festival was already in the game, but you can go ahead and talk to these NPCs and also use the mechanic. It's pretty awesome, giving you some extra items in there depending what you give in. I also recommend exhausting all the dialogues because you're going to get all of these other goodies and crafting materials, including nutrients from all of the NPCs lingering around. But once you're done talking to them, you just have to search for the sleeping guy over back into the main hideout. So jump down and pay attention somewhere towards the middle section. There should be this suspended little Woodwood body over here that you can go ahead and speak to. And once you're done talking to him, now you've unlocked Alma's customization, including these glasses right here. Now you're going to have the option to change her outfit in the same category where you also change your appearance back at your tent. However, you also get those glasses for yourself. If you check the smithy, you now have the strategist spectacles, which are very cheap to craft, and they give you straight up level 3 geologist, so you have a guaranteed extra item whenever you gather from the mining outcrops. So if you're planning on something like a gathering outfit, this is going to make it even easier for you because of it. But that being said, let's talk about the new encounters, beginning with Mizutsune, which you're going to open up via the side quest over here at Kanya in the Scarlet Forest. She's pretty much at your main camp, so go ahead, talk to her, and this is going to open up the spirit in the Moonlight extra mission. And this is very easy to follow. Literally just go to the location and you're now going to have Mizutsune spawning at night. Now, the fight over here is not going to be too difficult. Obviously, the boss uses Bubble Blight, so you're going to want to dodge some of these bubbles unless you want to slip all over the place. Also, pay attention to some of the colored bubbles, like specifically red ones can give you a damage buff, for example. And I know that the green one also gives you some healing. But otherwise, the boss wasn't that difficult. The only thing to pay attention to are her quick jumps, and also sometimes doing some of these water jet attacks, both near the body and also from range. So in this case, either dodge in time or maybe come out with a perfect parry. In both of these situations, it shouldn't be too difficult. And there is one more thing about the Mizutsune fight that I don't want to spoil for now, but once it reaches a certain HP threshold, you're going to definitely have a big surprise over there. This isn't necessarily the base Mizutsune, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But at the end, you're going to get all of the resources out of it. And here are the items you can now craft from Mizutsune. I'm not gonna lie, I'm both intrigued but also kinda underwhelmed. On one side, I like the fact that it plays on the Bubble Blight mechanic, so we can further give some buffs to the Mizutsune weapons in case you want to go with a build like that. But it's also underwhelming because you pretty much have to fully dedicate to both the armor and the Mizutsune weapon so that you get all of those benefits. But specifically, here are some of the new skills we have, including the aquatic oil slit mobility. So this at level 1 negates the effect of muddy streams and prevents you from being slowed down in water or oil slit. And at level 2, it also completely negates the effect of waves. So this isn't just great against Mizutsune's water attacks, but also against Uthduna, as that also incorporates quite a few. However, in the case of the Mizutsune prowess, we do have the skill over here, and it pretty much prevents major Bubble Blight, but ups evasion while afflicted by it. And at the same time, it also triggers Bubble Blight by evading many times. It doesn't say it has to be a perfect evade. I think that as long as you just spam that, it should trigger it. And this is now going to play really well with the new Mizutsune weapons, as they come with some exquisite new abilities, one of which is the Slicked Blade. And Slicked Blade basically gives you more affinity. Affinity by default is going to be about 3, 6, and 9% when you're wet, but it bumps up to 7, 14, and 21 while afflicted with Bubble Blight. So in total, if you're both wet and have Bubble Blight, you're going to have a 30% affinity, which is actually really good. That is on the level of some of the better skills in the game, assuming that you can get level 3 in Slicked Blade, which is actually pretty interesting. The only problem is that you now have to commit to full-on Mizutsune sets and also a Mizutsune weapon. So quite a few concessions you have to make. The weapons are a little bit lower in terms of raw attack compared to some of the Artian weapons you can craft. Not too far away though, because they are mostly based on affinity. They do have some pretty decent elemental water damage over there, but you kind of lose out on all the level 3 slots. You only have one of them. And besides that, you may not want to go with this. Maybe you're not playing in the Scarlet Forest, then you're not benefiting from some of the wetness effects. But I do believe that situationally it can be a very good set to have in the Scarlet Forest. So that's why I said I'm both impressed and a little bit underwhelmed. Anyway, let's move on to Zosia. Yes, you can now finally get Zosia as a monster by just heading over to Suja and talking to this guy right here, to Werner, who's going to open up that quest for you. It's going to be a quick cinematic with Zosia just reviving, and you can now go to its lair and fight with it. And pretty much like 100% of all the mechanics from low rank are exactly there as they used to be. The only difference is that its HP is higher and its attacks can deal much more damage. But the strategy is pretty much exactly the same. Focus on the head, the forelegs, and also the wing arms. And if you want to, also occasionally on the tail, as that's going to destroy all the wyvern milk that's protecting its body. You can also grab some of these thunder pods or dragon pods and use them against the crystals that the boss forms with its guardian attacks. In this case, if you detonate them close to its body, they will deal huge amounts of damage and eventually even stun the boss altogether. There's also these two rocks you can pull off so that it stuns the boss even more, but be careful because you only have two of them, so maybe keep them when the boss goes into its second and then third stage. Now, as the fight progresses, you're going to notice parts of its body will become exposed, so this includes the head, the wing arms, and eventually its entire body in the third and final phase. When it transitions to its second phase, be mindful of its AoE wide arena wipe, which is basically this one, following with a bunch of crystals and also the fire attack. So in this case, you have three options, the easiest being to just run away to the opposite end of the arena. Since that attack doesn't cover all of it, you still have like 5% of it still left uncovered. Second of all, you can also destroy some of the crystals that are about to be affected by fire using some of the elemental slinger ammo that you can collect from the ground, so make sure that you have at least some of that at the ready. That's going to reduce some of the range on the fire. Or third of all, if you get there in time, you can stay behind the boss. There's a safe zone behind its tail, which is going to give you a good 5 or so seconds of uninterrupted attacks to squeeze in more DPS. And from this point on, it's just rinse and repeat. Once it reaches into its third and final phase, its full body will be revealed, and this is when the boss will start using both fire, meteorites, and also the thunder blight attacks. So make sure that you stay away from them, use the previous attacks, take advantage of weakness points, and if you get affected by any of the blights, either roll or use null berries against the thunder one. This should not be too difficult, even if it takes a little bit longer than the lower rank version. And this is what we're going to get in terms of the armor, by the way. It's called the Numinous Armor Set, and some of these pieces actually have skills that are already part of many of the meta sets. So you will see some with Agitator or Coalescence, Counter-Strike, Elemental Absorption, and so on. So definitely we can mix and match some of these with some of the top tier sets and builds right now in the game. Besides this, there's also the Zosia Pulse, which is a very interesting skill. It allows the health gauge to continue to slowly recover up to the maximum value, even if there's no red portion. So you will literally regenerate HP all the time. So yeah, in theory, it sounds a little bit weak when you consider that going pure attack on everything is the meta right now, but it can still give you some nice variety over there if you want to maybe have a bit more survivability. In terms of the weapons, this is what I'm most impressed about because they seem to be pretty much on par with Artian weapons, and that's actually what gets me excited about the future of other title updates. Some of these can actually be really good. They do come with the Dragon Elemental. In this case, you are losing on the tier 3 slot, so maybe they are a bit behind, but definitely way closer to Artian than some of the older weapons used to be. However, what has the potential to make this great is the White Flame Torrent, chance to deal additional damage after landing an attack, which sounds really good. I'm not sure what the percentages are and how often that can trigger, but it does sound like a pretty decent chunk of extra damage. And activate skill effect when used with Scorcher does not stack but adds extra fire damage. So if you do have Scorcher, you just get extra fire damage. But yeah, this definitely seems very interesting. It kind of seems to work similarly to the Corrupted Mantle. You do get those extra damage points, and we already know how strong that is. We just have to find out the values of how often that triggers. But in theory, it sounds very cool. But let's check some of the stuff you find in the Grand Hub. You unlock this, by the way, by talking to this NPC, Tetsuzan, over at Suja Peaks of Accord. It's really quick, and then you can either access it via the road just up ahead, the same one you use for the Wounded Hollow, or go to this map right here, which just unlocked for that main hub. And here are some of the new things here that you should check out. One is going to be about these new arena challenges, which you can have by talking to this NPC. And the thing about these, on one side, even though you have to complete them with some predetermined sets, there are multiple options for different types of weapons and sometimes different builds for different weapons. So about 6 of them for each of these, which gives you plenty of options to take it down with that good timer. Once you've taken down those bosses, you also get some of these new coins, including the pinnacle and the boss specific coins that we're gonna use for crafting in just a little bit. But I also noticed that on my first arena completion, I also got a power charm and an armor charm, even though I already had them unlocked from the quest over in Zosia. So it is possible, though I'm not 100% sure, that you can just get these right away by completing one challenge. It doesn't matter with what mark you finish it, as long as it's finished, you're going to probably get these, but don't quote me on that. I just noticed them popping up over there, so it may be one of the explanations. But with the pinnacle coins, you can now go ahead and craft some of the new items, and one of them is this Guild Cross armor set, which looks really interesting. It pretty much gives you some flinch-free, also earplugs. It's a pretty okay option to have. Like, always nice to have options, but I don't think you're going to use any of these. Its skill over here gives you extra rewards, targeted rewards when you finish expeditions, but only for ones that you start from the beginning. So it may be a good farming set over there that you can use. Now, besides this, we also have the bowling mini game, which you can take part in right here on this end of the map. If you go ahead and talk to this cat NPC, you're going to get 10 tickets for the first 10 games. However, I'm going to show you some tips to constantly score the max possible points. And here's the gist of it. So first of all, stand on this third arrow to your left side right here. You can see it's the third one. I found this to be the best option to throw it straight at the biggest pin. And second of all, don't throw that barrel too far away from you. Instead, try to aim it towards your feet over here so that it doesn't bounce too much and explodes on the way towards it. You can see that there are some gaps on the way over there that may make it bounce. So in this case, if you throw it like that, you can see it's pretty much going on an almost straight trajectory right in between these smaller pins, taking a full-on row of the middle ones and going straight to the biggest one over there, 394 points very easily. Meanwhile, for the second one, I'm using the third last arrow, but basically, again, trying to aim in between the smaller pins so that my barrel goes straight to the middle pins and directly to the bigger one if it's still standing over there, as that's the best route. I think that the smaller pins are just there as a distraction, aimed to just affect the trajectory. Do that and you should get a high score, which unlocks some really cool new goodies, including some talismans you can go ahead and apply. Plus, you also get some of these extra consumables right here. Now, in terms of some of the other changes, you're going to notice if you head over to any provisions stockpiler, you will notice that now they have a quick trade items screen right here that you can use to basically just get everything from your box to your inventory and vice versa. You can pretty much access this the same way as you would at a camp or at your tent. So very useful over here to have all of the ammo or items transferred so that you can jump straight into an expedition. Also, don't skip on the support deck NPC, as you get a ton of free DLCs with title update number 1. So if you head over here, you don't even have to exit the game. Even on Steam, you can just retrieve all of these items and download those DLCs. So this includes that outfit for Alma, which you can go ahead and take right away and apply right here in her customization menu. You also get some extra gestures, and beyond that, you also get some new amazing charms. So some of these charms are very interesting because they don't actually attach to your weapon, but are actually these sort of fairies, I guess, that float around you. I'm not so sure how they will affect combat since they seem to be behind you, so they might sometimes block off your screen. Maybe try to not use them in the most difficult of combat situations. And yeah, that's pretty much it with some of the bigger changes in title update number 1. More will follow soon in terms of content, so if you liked or enjoyed this video, make sure you stick around, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.